Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to my shop. I wanted to make this quick video for some time. Some people have asked about this, and I think it's a subject that's important to cover for jet pilots with FrSky, and that is how to create an engine cut alert for your turbine running the Zavionix telemetry. So the first and foremost thing that you should know about these FrSky radios is that they're so flexible that essentially you can do whatever you can dream with them, with logical switches and so on. So the first thing I did was just to think out loud about how I would like the engine cut alert to look. So the main parameter which I want to look at is RPM. Sorry, if the RPM is dropped under the idle, let's say 10,000 RPM under the idle, then the engine is for sure cut. Of course, you can use other parameters such as pump power because the pump is decreased to 0 when the engine cuts, or others if you prefer other conditions. But the RPM condition is very reliable and happens very quickly, so it is very convenient for me. The next thing I wanted is not to have false alerts, meaning I use the little red trim for starting my turbine, and if the red trim is down, meaning I cut the engine myself, I don't need an alert. Since it's not an actual engine cut, it's a user-induced engine cut, which is fine. It doesn't need to be alerted. And the last thing is, because we're looking at RPM, we want to only check the RPM if the engine has actually been running. For example, if we would make a condition RPM under 30,000 and the engine hasn't been run yet, like now, the RPM is 0, but it's not an engine cut condition. So we need to check that our turbine is actually started, that our trim is in the flight position or the engine on position, and the RPM is dropped. If all these three conditions occur at the same time, then we have a certain engine cut event, and then we should send an alert, audible alert, vibration, haptic, or whatever you want, okay? So let me show you how I did it very easily using my RDT turbine sensor. I set up a bunch of logic switches that help me with this. Let me try to zoom in a little bit. Yeah, okay. So the first logic switch is actually not relevant. It's for my engine off alert when I put the trim down. The first relevant switch is logic switch 2, which is called trim up, and this occurs when I lift my trim. You can see it turning white. It looks that the trim is in the upward position above 95,000. The second switch, checks if my engine has reached a running state. In the RDT, the status sensor is called temp2, and for my KingTex, 16 equals running. If you want to verify yours, you can start your turbine and look at the value of temp2 while the engine has been started. Or you can just ask me for every turbine type. You can send me an email, say, hey, I got KingTech V1, and I want to know what is the correct number to put here for status running. If you don't want to check for yourself, I'll just give you the number. So that's the second switch. The third that actually indicates running is the same, LS3 in sticky mode. And why is that important? Because a logic switch turns on a certain condition, turns off. So we want this temp2 equals 16 or status equals value to stay on. If it happened once, it needs to stay on all the time. Otherwise, when I cut the engine, the status changes and I will not get the trigger. So we need to make the switch sticky. Therefore, we create another switch. It says LS3 in this case, or temp2, whatever status is sticky. So that's our second condition. The third condition is that the RPM is actually dropped. In this engine, I believe the RPM is around 30,000, which in the RDT would be 300 because the RDT counts in multiplications of 100. So you see I put RPM under 250, that's 25,000 RPM. So if this happens, LS2, and this happens, LS4, and this happens, LS5, all at the same time, then we should be in a positive engine cut condition and we should give the alert. So the next switch is simply an end condition. It says trim up, the first one, LS2, and low RPM, which is LS5, and running, which is LS4. So it just combines all these three conditions into one switch. And that's basically it. Now, using LS6, you can use this logic switch to send an audible alert. It says engine cut, use the haptic vibration, because sometimes you would have some noise and you'll not be able to hear the radio yelling at you. Yeah, it's fairly simple with the RDT. It's the most important alert that you could possibly do. Maybe this one and the low fuel alert for turbines are both extremely important. And that's it. I hope my explanation is simple enough, and happy and safe flying, guys.